Bonjour, everybody. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to Star Nation's organization's main fan page where I do the live stream for communications from home. We have a little bit of a glitch tonight. And actually it was operator error. I am supposed to be on at 7 Central Time. And when I set up the show, I set it up for 8 Central rather than 8 Eastern. I had my time zones mixed up. I think I can either claim sleep deprivation or menopausal moment, whichever one works. So we're gonna do this the old-fashioned way. The show that's supposed to air at 8, we're doing right now. Okay, so I'm going to explain all of that in a second. Hi, Mary. Hi, Mary Ellen. Thank you for joining me. If you ladies could do me a favor, because I've got my phone right now. Hey, man. If you could help me out, because we have this little glitch. If you guys could like and share the live stream, because everybody is expecting communications from home to come on a different way, that we need to let as many people know as possible that we're doing this the old-fashioned way. I would really appreciate it if you could do that. I'm going to do the same thing because I have my phone, and I'm going to find the live stream, and I'm going to share it to a couple places. My timeline for one, and also to the Star Nation's Radio Network closed group. And so once we get that done, then I'll go into a little bit deeper explanation about why we're doing the show this way. So I'm going to like it, and then I'm going to share the show, and let's see. I'm going to share it. And we're going to share it to, I think we're going to share it to the group first. Going to send it over to the closed group. Oh, peeps. I'm live streaming right now. And then please join me. All right, and then we're going to make sure we get to the right group, because you know how that goes sometimes. You hit the wrong key. And then I'm going to share it to my timeline. Since I share most of my stuff, I share most of my stuff to, it's public. So we'll reach as many people as we possibly can. And I'm live streaming. Oops, get spell right. And we're going to tell everybody that it's the communications from home. And then please join. Just takes a second. And just double checking to make sure I spell everything right. Here we go. All right, thank you for those. Hi, Jocelyn. I was just asking everybody to, if they could like and share the show, especially tonight, because I made a little bit of a mistake. When I was scheduling the show, I had in Be Live TV, our partners, to give us that really cool way to be able to do interviews and that sort of thing. I entered the time as 8 p.m. Central Time, and in my head, I was thinking Eastern. And so the show is set up for 8 p.m. And so by that time, we should be wrapping things up, really, for the Central Time. So I would appreciate it. We're trying to get to as many people as possible. Hey, Cindy Ferris, thank you so much for joining. Yeah, you know, I honestly probably sleep deprivation because we have a new puppy. Yeah, his name's George. He is a golden retriever and yellow lab mix, which is intentional. They're called golden labs, and we were trying to figure out a color name for his fur, and my mom came up with, oh, he looks like a champagne color. I was saying French vanilla, but no, she goes, no, he's more like champagne. Okay, we'll go with that. I know. And yeah, and I shared a picture of him earlier this weekend, and he was on just for a tiny, tiny little bit with me on Saturday afternoon for the live stream that I do for the card draw. Yeah, fun, cute, but he does take a lot of energy, and he takes a lot of energy, and so. Oh, Cindy's saying I saw the picture of him and Paul. Yeah, that's the only picture I've taken. Well, I took one more of him of George sleeping, but it wasn't a very good picture. It was kind of dark, So we'll get another picture of him out there. So the mistake I made with the broadcast time has to do, I think, a little bit with a lack of sleep over the weekend and trying to get everything done. You know how that crunch goes. So, but at any rate, we're here and we're together, and this is Communications from Home, my usual Tuesday night live stream show. And the only difference is that we're not going through BeLive app, which means I don't have all the pictures I wanted to show you guys. We're going to have to do it kind of like old school, the oral tradition. We'll call it that. We'll call it oral tradition. Because, back in the day, thank you, Mary Ellen. She's saying he's a beautiful puppy. He sure is. He's a good boy. He's just 8 weeks old, and Paul weighed him today, and he's 12 pounds. Yeah, he's going to be a big boy, I think. So back in the day, a long time ago, how most of us learned, we're talking about ancestors now, was through stories and storytelling. And in a Native American tradition, when we're taught to do something, we actually get shown several times. And chances are of asking a lot of deep questions and that kind of thing doesn't happen right away. We watch and we watch and we watch. And then eventually the person who's teaching us will say, now it's your turn. And then you start doing it, and then you can have questions. It's like, oh yeah, he did this, they did that, he went this way, he went that way. And then if you're making a mistake, they'll slow you down and they'll show you again, And so I think that's how we're gonna approach this evening, is more in the oral tradition way, talking about the MerKaBa and the symptoms that could come along with an activated MerKaBa. How I even got to this topic was during the live stream morning show. I think it was on Thursday or Friday. We just finished up the Sacred Geometry Oracle deck, and we were talking about star tetrahedrons, and I started talking about the MerKaBa. And someone in the live chat asked if it's possible for your MerKaBa just to activate all on its own. And so we had a good discussion about that. And there's a much broader, we talked about it in generalities, really, in that live stream. And so my suggestion was that if anybody was interested, that I would do a special show, this one, where that is the only thing we're talking about. And so that, because the morning show, sometimes we're really focused on the card, and then we kind of branch off into different areas. And this one, I really wanted to have the symptoms of activating a MerKaBa as the primary topic, so that when we do the branching off, it's still remaining about that particular topic. You know what I mean? Yeah. I just think that it's going to be easier to take in the information. Yeah. All right. So I think the first thing that we need to do is talk about what is a MerKaBa. What is it? And for those that are in the live chat, if you could let me know if you have studied anything about the MerKaBa, that would be helpful. And also, if you have an activated MerKaBa, okay, that would be also helpful to know. Yeah, it would be. All right, so a MerKaBa. MerKaBa is known as our ascension vehicle. It's mentioned in many of the ancient scriptures as the chariot of fire. And there's actually depictions, images of it etched into stone walls all over the world, just like the flower of life is, because it is inside of the flower of life. And for those who don't know what the flower of life is, it is circles, overlapping circles in a larger circle. And it's called the flower of life because all of the everything that's made, that's created, comes from that flower of life. That's why it's called the flower of life. So the MerKaBa, you guys have seen it before. Even if you don't have it activated, you've seen it before. It's also known as King Solomon's seal, and you've also seen it on the Israeli flag. And it's two triangles overlapped, and it's also known as the star tetrahedron. Okay, star tetrahedron. All right. Mary Ellen is saying yes, that she has heard about the MerKaBa. And Mary Summer says, not anything. Okay, that's good to know. And Mary Ellen says, does it stay on once it's activated, or do you have to do something daily? You checked mine once and said it was activated. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, we'll get into that. We'll certainly answer that question. So the MerKaBa field is made up of two tetrahedrons, and a tetrahedron is a triangle. And here's a three-dimensional one. This is carved out of quartz crystal. Okay, try not to get too much of a glare on it. And as you can see, it's a triangle. Okay, and there's two of these actually, and they're overlapped. And when they're overlapped, that is a star tetrahedron. And the star tetrahedron, the MerKaBa, they call it a counter rotating field of light. I'm going to type that in there because this is an important one. It's the MerKaBa is a counter rotating field of light. There you go. And what that means is your MerKaBa field, you actually have three of them around you. So you saw the tetrahedrons, the squares, right? You have one that comes down here over the top of you, and it's about the apex is about a hand's length above your head. Okay. And then you also have the second one, which has the apex facing the ground, facing the earth. And you have three of those superimposed over each other. Okay? And one of the star tetrahedrons spins to the right and one spins to the left. That's what they mean about the counter rotating. Okay? And they spin very, 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 very fast. That it's very difficult to see it with the naked eye. You won't be able to do it, but you can feel it. And then the third one, the third star tetrahedron, is stationary. It doesn't move. Okay, so that's what it means when they say it's a counter-rotating field of light. That means you have one that spins to the left, star tetrahedron, and the star tetrahedron that spins to the right. One is male, one is female. Okay, and so that helps us to balance our male-female energies. That is what a MerKaBa is, in a nutshell. Now, the thing is that there's a creation story. And the creation story about how we even got here, the two-leggeds, the humans, to populate the earth. Okay, is we're star seeds, and we were genetically engineered by the Anunnaki. I think I pronounced that right. And their genetic engineers, what they did was they manipulated DNA from the early hominids. They were upright walking. They wouldn't necessarily be classified as human, okay? They were seen more like animals. And what they did was they took some of their DNA and mixed it with their DNA, the genetic engineering, the extraterrestrials, we'll call them. And what they did was they created a new being, which became the human. And why did they even do that? Well, they were here mining gold. They were trying to extract the gold from our earth. And they needed the gold to be able to take back to their home planet, because their home planet was in jeopardy. Yeah. When we talk about the ozone layer, remember when we used to talk about that a lot? Well, on their home planet, what happened was their ozone layer was depleted. And so in order to have protection from the sun, from their sun, they needed to have I was going to say man-made, a being-made, how's that, protection field. And in order to make it, they needed the gold. And their own people got tired of mining the gold. They didn't want to mine the gold anymore. And so that's when they started using the early humans to mine the gold. And the thing is that it's really hard work, right? And so they didn't have enough early humans to do the work. And so that's when they started doing the genetic engineering. And they had the female extraterrestrials who were carrying, the child, right? Birthing the child. And they got tired of doing that, being the surrogate. And so what happened in the genetic engineering is that the early human was given the ability to procreate. And so they were able to populate then and replenish, the population, so that they would always have workers, basically. Well, what happened when they were doing this genetic engineering stuff, because we carry their DNA, we also carry the ability to do certain things, right? And one of the abilities was to have a MerKaBa field that would be there naturally. You didn't have to do anything, that it was there. But in order to control us, the genetic engineers, what they did was they deactivated our MerKaBa field. And we were one of the very few planets in the many solar systems that didn't have an activated MerKaBa field. Yeah. So fast forward many, 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 many centuries, and because we were doing a lot of spiritual work, and there was research being done, and even with our DNA, they were saying, the science was saying that we have 2 strands of active DNA, but we actually have a total of 12 strands of DNA, and the other 10 they were calling junk, and we all know that the creator doesn't create junk. So anyway, we found out a whole bunch of stuff. And one of the ancient things that came out of Egypt was the MerKaBa field. Yeah, the information about it, because it came out of the flower of life. that information. And so, again, oral tradition, handing it down from one generation to another. That's how we got the information. And it actually came from, you might recognize the name Thoth, right? It actually came from him. And we were given the ability to procreate, but we were never given the ability to have a naturally organic MerKaBa field. And so back in the 70s, people were starting to write about it. Stitchin, Drunvalo Melchizedek, who's one of my teachers, and a few other people were starting to write about it. And there were people who were starting to activate their MerKaBa field. And the thing is that one person's MerKaBa field, that counter-rotating field of light, has a lot of energy to it. And if you measure the energy, it can actually light up a small town, they say, small, 150,000 people. It's not a small town, it's a small city, right? Yeah, it's got a lot of energy to it. And so when people started activating their MerKaBa fields back in the 70s, our government started seeing blips on the kind of machinery they use to track energy fields, okay, like radar, right? And so they would see these blips, and then they would have to go check it out. What are these blips? And they were people who had activated their MerKaBa. Well, now there's so many of us that they're hardly ever tracked, except for in certain areas. And so that is how we get to today in modern time with a MerKaBa field. Okay. Hey, Julie. Yep, the counter-rotating field of light. And Pam Nelson. Pam is one of the teachers for this. Yeah, we trained together. Hi, Pam. And Julie also says, hi there. Hi. She's listening from the road. Esperanza. Hello, Esperanza. Thank you for joining. I'm happy you're here too. And Julie's saying, such an interesting story. I've heard this Ananukai story before. So cool, but I've not heard how it relates to the MerKaBa. Yeah, it was a way of controlling us. Because the MerKaBa field provides not only protection, but it also provides a way for us to be able to receive energy information. You might recognize it as light language. When it comes through our MerKaBa field, it can be decoded. And so, we understand something deeper, clearer, and sometimes we don't even know why. It just is, right? It just is. And there's so many things about the MerKaBa field that it's our ascension vehicle, and we have to learn how to drive it, right? Like any other vehicle. Now, when I say ascension vehicle, there's one thing that always pops into my head. It's about a movie. And it's with Brandon Fraser. It's called The Mummy. You guys have seen it, right? And Amenhotep is the guy that they're his nemesis, right? And he is a priest from Egypt, ancient Egypt. And in the movie, they read some scripture some writings out of the Book of the Dead, I believe. And you see his soul coming down a stairwell in a chariot, a bright chariot, and it comes down and it goes right through him, right through him, and it leaves. That was his MerKaBa field. They deactivated it. And so now he's just like everybody else without a MerKaBa field, right? And technically in the movie they were taking away his immortality, but It is our ascension vehicle. And so when you have an activated MerKaBa field, you have to learn how to drive it, because it can do so much for us. And honestly, I think, and Pam, if you can weigh in on this, I think that our knowledge of the MerKaBa field and how to use it is minimal compared to what it's capable of, right? Yeah. You might say we're still infants at learning how to drive our MerKaBa field. So there was a question that was asked. I want to make sure I answer it. Hey, Pam. Let's scroll up a little bit and make sure I have it. Okay. So Mary Ellen says, does it stay on once it's activated, or do you have to do something daily? Now, we're going to, hey, I got a visitor. 7:30. Somebody's here. We got a surprise visitor. George is here. George, come here, baby. Georgie, come here, baby. Hi, George. Oops. Oh, can't pick you up that way. Oh, here's my little boy. Here's my baby. This is George. Say hi, George. George is, we just weighed him today, 12 pounds. Yeah. He's a good little boy. He's teething. You know what that means. Sharp little razor teeth. And when he gets tired, oh my gosh, he gets tired. Hey, baby. Okay. All right. You go to Paul. Was it raining out? Okay. So that was George. He's much better this time around on camera. The first time I had him on, it was his first day here, and he was a little anxious, scared. Not today. He's running around all over the place. Did you see Paul go by? Yeah. Yep. That's George. All right. So with the MerKaBa, answering Mary Ellen's question, in the story, when we first got the information about activating a MerKaBa field, right? It was done in a very, I would say, intense way. It took a few days, like a long weekend, to learn the information. And once you got the information, then you were able to activate your MerKaBa. And back then, because I activated mine this way in 2002, and they were still doing the same meditations even in 2002, okay? He likes my meditation mat. Maybe he'll fall asleep on it. So anyway, so in the old days, when we activated our MerKaBa, what happened is that you would have to do a certain meditation to clear your chakras, to clear them and to have them balanced and spin at a certain rate, right? And that rate is matched to Grandmother Earth. And in that meditation, we had to do certain mudras, right? With breath work. And it actually felt really good. It really did. And we had to do it every day. And I think it was for like 90 days, every day. And that was needed to be able to make sure that you were clear enough in order for the MerKaBa to become permanent, right? Stable. And if you missed a day, you had to start all over from day one. George really likes my meditation mat. And so if you missed a day, you had to start all over. So for some people, it might have taken 90 days, 120 days, could take a whole year before their MerKaBa field was stable. You know, it might have been activated, but it wasn't stable. And the reason for that is because in the old way of activating your MerKaBa, it was really done with only the mind. Only the mind. Yeah, back in the old days. You can actually still find that meditation in written form out on the internet. You have to be careful though to make sure it's complete, because there's some people who delete some of it. Why, I don't know, but they do. And so when it's activated, when the MerKaBa field is activated in the organic way, I think that's the terminology we were using a few years ago. The old one we called it synthetic, because it was only activated with only the mind. And I want to call it new. The updated way, because we're in a completely different energy field than those early people that activated in the 70s and the 80s, even the 90s, even the early 2000s. We're in a completely different energy field. And so to activate your MerKaBa now in modern days is that it's activated with both your heart and your mind. So it's just not the mind, it's also your heart. And so you still have a few days, hello George, a few days learning about how to do that and why it's important to do that in order to connect the heart and mind. And so when it's activated that way, it's automatically permanent and automatically stable. I have a show going on behind me. Why, I don't know. And so when it's activated from both the mind and the heart, it is permanent and stable automatically. So I hope that answered your question, Mary Ellen. There isn't, when you activate it in the organic way, when it's connected with the mind and the heart and you activate it, there's nothing more you have to do. Nothing. You know, you turn your attention to it. Did you hear? You turn your attention to your field. Why? Because it feels good. You want to check on it. Yeah. Especially when you're going through like airports and Kmart or Walmart. Wait a minute. Are there any Kmarts left? I don't know. Maybe just Walmart. Hey, Peggy Bonk. Hello there. So glad you're here. Yep. Pam says, she's talking about learning how to drive a MerKaBa. She says, yes, it's like children driving a Mack truck. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That sounds familiar. I think that was in our training, wasn't it? It was. Yeah. Okay, so, yeah. Yep. Here in Batavia, that's right. Okay, so your MerKaBa field, I wish I had my pictures up. That was what I was going to show you. So the MerKaBa field, when it's activated, you have an energy field that literally pops out around hip level, and it stretches out. It stretches out 55 feet in diameter. Did you hear that voice from the audience? From the audience. And so that field is huge, 55 feet in diameter. And remember, it's a counter-rotating field of light. It's large. That's why it can be picked up on some sensory devices, right, as a very large field. Energy cords. Energy cords and puppies don't go well together. Move it. That's too bad. You can't have it. Too bad. There. Didn't like it. I took it away from you. All right. So 55 feet in diameter. And then you have another field within the field. Okay. And that's called the Leonardosphere. And that, when we talk about the bubble around us, okay, that, if you have your arms out and you have to really stretch, and that hard stretch is at the very end of your longest finger is the edge of your sphere. Get used to it, because he's going to be up here with me on shows because I can't leave him down at the house by himself. not for that amount of time anyway. Not until he gets a little older. All right, so we're in this bubble, right? And if you can kind of imagine Wizard of Oz and Glinda, the Good Witch, right? And how she comes down, floats down in her bubble, her MerKaBa field. Mm-hmm. No, I'm sorry, her Leonardo da Vinci, right? The Leonardo sphere. We call it the Leonardo sphere because in the Vitruvian Man, you can see the drawing of it. It's a really good picture, and I had that for you. I did. Technology. So anyway, that is your MerKaBa field. Now, the thing is, you can have some symptoms with your MerKaBa, especially when you first activate. Now, I should also let you know that there are some people who can automatically activate their MerKaBa field without even being consciously aware of it. Okay, and that is they're very few. Very few. There's people who have done a lot of healing work on their heart chakra, on their root chakra, on their throat chakra. You know, there's a lot of healing that has been done, and so they're vibrating very, very close to their original vibration, their original frequency that they came in with, and so it's possible to have a field activate spontaneously that way. Does it mean that it's permanent? Not necessarily. Does it mean that it's stable? Not necessarily. Does it mean that they know how to drive their MerKaBa field? No. Not even a little bit. Now it's sensing that maybe they've had dreams about it. Maybe they've had information come through meditations. That's a possibility, right? It's very possible. So these symptoms, when you activate consciously and you activate with your mind, your brain, and your heart connected, the symptoms can still be there, but they don't last very long. Some people feel a little dizzy at first, and that could last maybe a day or two. Some people feel queasy, and I think I lend that to the counter-rotating fields of light, because maybe energetically what they're feeling is that spinning. Okay, and so they might feel kind of queasy. There's a few people who say that they feel, I don't want to say wobbly, but they feel kind of like their balance isn't real good, you know, and so that might last a couple of days. And there's other people who don't feel anything, nothing. I didn't feel anything. There was no symptoms of it at all. What I felt was more grounded. You know, I could hold my being centered for longer periods of time. Emotionally, you're not on a roller coaster anymore, because Paul said that was one of the best things that ever happened, was activating that MerKaBa field, because it's not your emotions, even when it's tied to your menstrual cycles, aren't very dramatic. At least what mine wasn't. But when you activate it in the old way, through just your mind, just your brain, the synthetic way, I think that there were more symptoms with that, because our fields were not automatically permanent. or stable. We really had to work at maintaining that. And if you missed it, even after it was permanent, if you missed your meditations for more than 48 hours, you could feel the do I want to say instability? You could feel the wobble. You could feel the wobbliness. And once you did the meditation, it felt great. But it was after 48 hours, if you didn't do the meditation, sometimes it would feel not very stable. Yeah. So the question I get sometimes is with the organic way of activating. If you already have a MerKaBa field, it's already been activated and it's already stable, but you did it in the old way, synthetic form, do you still have to do the new and improved, right? The updated? My answer would be yes. Yes. Because there's a lot more stability with it, and you're working from your heart. And when you work from your heart, when you're in that tiny space of your heart, there's no fear, there's no negativity. It's pure. It's pure. And so you have this. It's a much more stable and really built on love. Yeah, built on love. Pam says. Good, Pam. Thank you, Pam. She says, I used to say that the synthetic MerKaBa was like a fire I had to keep up and put wood in every morning. I had to take care of it. The organic MerKaBa took care of me. Oh, I love that. That is so true. So very true. Because that's a good image too, Pam. That is a great Pamista. That's a great image too, because we were constantly tending it. You're right. That meditation was constantly tending that fire and keeping it lit. That is so true. And the organic one, yeah. I've had students leave that had activated their organic one and were, missed being in car accidents on the way home, driving from here to, Illinois or Minnesota or wherever. And it certainly is protective field. There are 5 layers of light in the MerKaBa, and within that 5 layers of light, that's what makes it impenetrable. It is a shield of protection. It's your ascension vehicle, right? It's your ascension vehicle. Yeah. So we have a few minutes. If you guys have any questions about the MerKaBa field or just about anything, we can take those questions. Just type them into the comment section. For those who joined us a little bit later, we're doing this. George is back. We're doing this live stream, what Facebook calls native live stream, because I made a tiny bitty error when I scheduled this show using our partners at Be Live TV app. I set it for 8 p.m. and I thought it's Eastern time, right? Which would make it 7 p.m. here, and that didn't happen. It was set for 8 Central time. And so, time zones. And I was saying that I think I'm going to claim sleep deprivation for that, because George had just joined us, and we were dealing with a puppy in a brand new environment, right? Oh my God, he's taking apart my meditation mat, not tearing it up or anything. It's just pillows piled on top of each other. Yeah, he's trying to make it comfortable for him. So the MerKaBa, yeah, there's the MerKaBa star tetrahedron is made up of 2 tetrahedrons, 2 triangles, right, overlapped. When you have the 2 put together, it's called a star tetrahedron. But the tetrahedron is one of the platonic solids that's found in Metatron's cube. It's the building blocks of all life, the platonic solids. And each one of them represents an element. And the tetrahedron happens to represent fire. Fire. And it is the, makes sense though, doesn't it? To have a chariot of fire, is what they call it in the Bible, the chariot of vehicle, the MerKaBa. Oh my goodness. And so with the symptoms, what can we do to make them better if you have them? My suggestion is that you connect to Grandmother Earth and Grandfather Sky. In other words, you're going to be doing the unity breath meditation. And part of that meditation is about bringing to you images of Grandmother Earth that you just love and appreciate. And you bring them to you where you see them in a daydream even. You're daydreaming about it. You see it. You feel it. You feel how you felt the last time you were at your favorite place in nature. You know, the beauty of it, how much you love it, right? Yeah. Or better still, go outside, go for a walk out in the woods, go take a hike on a natural trail, and reconnect to the Grandmother Earth. And that really does help. It helps to alleviate the symptoms. The other thing you can do is you can bring down Grandfather Sky or Creator Energy, right? You bring images of what you just love and appreciate about the sky. Stars, moon, sun, clouds, the planets, rainbows, those images and how you feel about them. And they're with you, right? You can feel it. Feel the love for them. And it's been my experience that when you do that, you're grounded and you're centered. And those symptoms are alleviated. And when you're doing the organic activation of the MerKaBa, you know, your symptoms won't be nearly as dramatic as those that are activated through only the mind. Yeah. The dizziness was mine. It's like, wait, stop. Let's just take a breath here. Let's get grounded, you know, and it would get better. But I would have to do that. I would have to do that every other day or so until it went permanent, and then it was much better. And so those are just really those kinds of tips, you know, to have the symptoms be less, and eventually they will just go away. You'll notice it one day doing something very mundane, and you're going to realize, hey, I don't have that headache anymore, or my queasiness stopped. And you didn't do anything. You didn't take any Pepto, or you didn't take any Dramamine, or anything like that. And it just all of a sudden it stops. Why does it happen? Here's my 2 cents on it. I believe that our physical body is adjusting in its new energy. Yeah. Peggy's asking, is it Egyptian? It did come out of Egypt information. It came through Thoth. And yes, you know, it, so how far back does it go? You know, I would imagine it goes all the way back to Lemuria, really, you know. So it's much older than Egypt. Yeah. But it did, the information that we got, that Pam and I and a whole bunch of other people got, that one did come out of Egypt. Right. Yeah. So thanks for asking that, Patty, because I think a lot of, Peggy, I think a lot of people wonder about that. So anyway, I think that our symptoms after we activate is about our physical body adjusting to our new frequency, our new energy field. Yeah. I don't know. And also, my sleep was so much better when I activated the organic one. Yeah. I still have to take melatonin to fall asleep, but once I'm asleep, I'm good to go. Um, but it's a much better sleep than I had before. Yeah. But that's a whole another show about how to drive your vehicle. And my suggestion is that if you've activated your MerKaBa, but you really don't know how to drive it, is to hook up with a teacher and get the information, because it's as Pam said, we're toddlers driving a Mack truck, and so to hook up with a teacher to be able to walk you through your driver's manual for it. And the other one is that if you want to activate your organic MerKaBa, you can still do that. There are many teachers out there. Pam, are you still teaching it? She's in Alaska. So those who are listening from Alaska, you got somebody out there. I haven't really kept up with who's teaching the Awakening Illuminated Heart classes, but how this even came up was because I was doing the card draws in the morning, right? The information, and I was using the Sacred Geometry Oracle deck, and so how can you talk about sacred geometry and not talk about the star tetrahedron and the MerKaBa, right? Okay, so yeah, we're at the top of the hour. I want to remind you guys about a couple of things. Is that so Pam is still teaching. She says teaching when there's interest, but not regularly. Okay, well that makes sense. That makes sense. So tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern is Polly Joe LeBay's show, Soul Connections, and that we don't even really call it a show. That hour of healing and divine messages is really meant for healers. Those of us who are light workers and healers that we haven't done our self-care, she provides the sacred space and the assistance in releasing blocks, interferences, that kind of thing. And it's really the work between you and your spiritual team. She provides the sacred space for that to occur and to help your team do whatever needs to get done. And that's at 7 Eastern. Okay. Yeah. And there's my morning card draw shows. Yeah. At 10 Central, 11 Eastern, and it's at 10 Central. So, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night, and we'll see you back here next week for Communications from Home, which is, what's the date next week? I think it's the 11th, isn't it? Yeah, it's the 11th, which means my guest is Julie Hedges, and Julie and I are going to be talking about the truth. And what is the truth, right? Whose truth? And so we're going to be talking about that at 7 p.m. Central and 8 Eastern. Yeah. So join us. It's going to be a good show, right? Peggy is saying, a few nights ago, a meditation was posted on the Insight Timer from the Blue Lion people from Star System Sirius. Don't mean to be random, but I'd love your views on it. Well, I'll take a look at it and let you know, okay? Because Sirius is definitely a planet that happens to be my home planet, that does have a lot of information about sacred geometry and the MerKaBa. So I'll take a look at it and let you know, okay, Peggy? Yeah, I'll do that for you. But not till after the magazine is published. We're right in the middle of doing some of the final edits on the September issue. So I won't have time until after the 10th, but I can certainly look at it. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday evening, and I'll see you back here next week, September 11th, with my guest, Julie Hedges. Right? Bama Mina, everybody. Until we see each other again. Good night.